Tonight we're going to take another short video just showing some of the more detailed things about connecting Maddie. TPN, we've got our supply set up. I'll do this fairly quickly. TPN comes out of the refrigerator 4 to 6 hours in advance. That gives time for it to come close to room temperature. First things first, I'm going to clean the port used for the injection site. I'm not going to let the video run for all the stuff that takes longer time this time because the longer form video shows it and we don't need to show it again. I'm going to be focusing on the little details that weren't visible in the first video. So I cleaned this port for the vitamin injection. The next thing I'm going to do is I took the 2 caps off the vitamins. I'm going to clean the tops of those. Important note, these are 2 different colors when you draw them. See vial 1 and vial 2. One of them's clear, one of them's yellow. There's 5 mils in each. We're going to draw them both into a 10 mil syringe. It's going to be pretty bright yellow in color. When you inject the vitamins into the bag, it is important to make sure that you don't puncture the sides. It's pretty narrow and it's pretty easy, so just go slow. You get resistance, you need to adjust where you are. Going to make the TPN turn yellow. It's important to note that not all the bags are the same color. So this one started out milky white. This bag has lipids in it in the TPN. She gets those Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday bags do not have lipids. They're clear. They both will end up a shade of yellow. The next thing is we're going to mix the lipids. When we do this, we want to try to distribute it somewhat evenly. You can flip the bag over. I find that this technique tends to work pretty well. And then for Maddie's friends, it's really important to smack the TPN. The next thing we're going to do is clean off the site for the line. So we're going to tear off the bottom portion of this. I call this the butterfly because it's kind of what it looks like. We're just going to twist the bottom side, it comes off. We're going to clean that with alcohol just like we did the injection site, 15 seconds. The next thing, and usually I do this first, but I didn't do it first this time, is we're going to replace the batteries in the pump. They get replaced every night with fresh ones. If you're at the lake house, my house, the big box at the end of the counter is used batteries. Don't take from there for new ones. When you put the new ones in, make sure you lock the cover by sliding this piece over. If you have fingernails, be careful. Turn it on. It's going to go through a self-test, and we're going to double check to make sure it shows full power. And there we have full power. Turn it back off. Next thing I'm going to do is open the line. I'm going to completely tear off the white paper backing, and I'm going to keep the tray. We're going to use that. I'm going to tear the paper off here, and I'm going to take this line and stretch it out. It's going to have coils in it and kinks. So I just hold it up high and kind of let it fall, get the coils out of it and get it fairly straight. There's going to be 2 ends. One has a white sheath over the pokey stabby part that goes in the bag. Don't poke yourself. Even though it's plastic, it still hurts. Trust me. That's this piece, pokey stabby. And then the blue one is the part that connects to Maddie. But before we connect it to her, we're going to take this one-way valve. Take that here. There's a white cap end and a clear cap end. The white cap end is the one that connects to the blue. As long as I'm careful and I don't touch the end of the line or the end of the one-way, I don't have to clean them because they're sterile. If I touch them to anything, I clean them before I connect them. But I'm going to clean that and leave it. Now we're ready to install the line. So first thing to note of importance is that the distance between bag pokey stabby and the 2 parts that have to go in the pump is not very long. You don't have a lot of wiggle room, so don't think you're going to hang the bag up and successfully connect this. It's very difficult to do it that way. So I generally am going to go ahead and put the pokey stabby in the bag and then go from there. when you do this, I give it a little twist. It helps it get in there easier. And there's a little shoulder you can see when it's all the way in. Typically, you'll also start to see some of the TPN flow. If there's any concern that it's going to get away from you, you can lock it off. Now we're going to install this in the pump. The next thing we want to do is go to the piece that is rectangular, and it's got a little white tab that sticks off the bottom. That white tab is holding this spring-loaded valve in place, which is allowing that to flow through the line. We're going to give this a twist and break it off. When you do that, now the valve moves and it's closed. Grab the pump. On the top here is an opening. We're going to put our finger in there and pull up. It says lift to open. We're going to open this up. A couple of important things. You'll note right here that there's a gap there. When you install the line, it has to be on the front side of that gap or you're going to crimp it and it won't work. Or you'll break it. So we're going to take the line and you'll see there's an arrow right there and a hole. So this little blue piece has to go in that hole. So we're going to go in front of the arm, put the little blue piece in the hole. Now it's going to try to escape, so I normally put my finger over it. And now we're going to take this piece and we have to pull it this way. And we have a little black retainer and we have a hole here. So we have to pull this piece past the black retainer and push it down in the hole. Now if you just close the door, it may not close properly. You have to push down, give it a little bit of force to push it down to lock it in. That's what it's supposed to look like. It should be flat across the top. If you get an error when you go to try to use this, you go to try to prime it, one of the first things to check is to open this door again and make sure that this piece is in that hole. Because sometimes if you don't put your finger on it, it'll pop out. Next thing we need to do is get everything kind of stretched out. You want the pump right next to the bag. Don't pull on that. We're going to use this for our priming. And when we prime, we have to deal with this filter. So the filter needs to be pointing straight up in the air when we prime it. And in order to do that, you need 3 or 4 hands, which we don't have. So I've got a little technique that works.